Hello, welcome to GeekyHiJynx, home of the mischief makers, and today we're looking at Come True. What the hell just happened? What did I just watch? Honestly, brain freeze. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to make out of this film. You need to go watch it. I can tell you that much. I'm not getting too far ahead of myself. I'm not going to give it a rating or how I feel just yet. I'm going to talk about the film a little bit first. But my mind has never been so opened and yet so confusingly crushed at the same time. Now, at first glance, you look at this film and by its title, you would think Come True is the autobiography for Jiminy Cricket. But this film caught my eye more than the rest. No pun intended, of course. But I just saw loads of reviews on YouTube pop up. And normally you get like a few films here, like Stay at the Attic and The Stylist, a few. But everyone was reviewing this one. And I was like, this must be pretty good. And I was just seeing like best sci-fi horror film I've seen. And I was thinking, I don't know what I was doing there. I was trying to like do a Harry Potter spell. But that's not even, that's more like what? Palpatine from Star Wars. Not Harry Potter. Anyway, I need help. So Come True is directed by Anthony Scott Burns and stars Julia Sarah playing Sarah. She is the lady you follow throughout the entire film. She's a bit of a recluse, hasn't got many friends, avoids going home, avoids seeing her mum, doesn't sleep at home, she sleeps in a park, and she's very sleep deprived, always in the coffee shops trying to get a coffee fix to stay awake. And while Sarah is in one of these coffee shops, she sees an ad for some sleep studies, so she goes along, and the movie takes a dark and crazy turn from there. And that's the general plot, guys. I'm not going to touch on any spoilers, I hope, and from there, I'm just going to touch on a few things I liked, I didn't like, so let's start with what I liked. The acting was excellent across the board. I can't think of anyone, well, I think one of the lab assistants, the girl, I don't know her name, but she seemed a bit out of place, because one minute she was really mysterious, and then when she let her guard down a little bit, it's like, what character are you? You're the one that's like really ominous, writing things down, and then you're like super helpful, panicking all the time. It's like, what do you want to be? But the rest of them, especially looking down at my notebook, Julia Sarah, I think she was great. She reminded me of, and I forget her name now, I do apologise, but the girl who played Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. Her name will be here if I forget, and her picture will be somewhere here. But she looked like her cousin, because she had similar features, and you think like the big eyes, and that like unique shaped head. Okay, I'm just insulting her now. But do you know what I mean? She looked just like Arya Stark. And there were other actors in here, and I'm really sorry, can't remember your names, but there's another character called, was it Riff? And he, as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, Harry Potter's in this. And then I thought, oh, it's like Harry Potter's cousin who was a male model for Vogue or something. But probably my favourite thing in the film, normally I leave the favourite thing till last or the very beginning, but my favourite thing about the film was the imagery. The imagery was fantastic. It was like, it reminded me of so many things, and it instantly reminded me of Silent Hill in parts. And all I'm going to say is legs, because if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I mean, and Silent Hill popped straight into my head at that very moment. And I have to mention that the imagery comes from the dreams. So when they're doing sleep studies, or people in their sleep, they're studying people's dreams, and they want to see how the brainwaves change and other little bits I won't touch on. But when they're asleep, you can see inside Sarah's mind what she's dreaming of, nightmares, weird imagery, like most of our dreams. And all the crazy imagery, like the legs, comes from that. And there was one of few scenes actually. Now, I don't know if anyone remembers a game called Myst. There's like a puzzle game on like the CDI back in the day. I used to play it with my granddad when I was little. And it reminded me of that, like certain parts. Like one of those games where you sort of click and then the screen goes forward a little bit. And you click again and the screen goes forward a little bit. If anyone's heard of that game, you're a legend. Or is it just me, or did I dream that game? But one of the things in this film that just screamed out at me was there's some artwork by a guy called Stefan Koidel. You've probably seen some of his artwork on Facebook, Instagram, all over the place, and not knowing it was him. Now when I saw this film, I was like, this reminds me of that guy's artwork. And when I looked at some of the images, literally after the film, I was like, crap, it's just like his artwork. So it's like Anthony Scott Burns, please be his name, yes. He looked at his artwork and thought, let me try and make a movie based on that. And these images aren't a spoiler, guys, because I'm pretty sure they're in the trailer. I really hope. But also, when Sarah goes to the sleep studies, one of the studies is on night terrors. And if anyone's ever had a night terror, they're terrifying, because I've had one, and I remember one coming from the corner of the room, walking right past my head, and I thought I was going to die. Terrifying. So to do a film about them is really cool, as well as other elements about sleep you don't really think about, like the falling parts and night terrors and daydreaming and other things. But yeah, when it comes to the imagery, I spoke about imagery quite a lot, but I loved it. And I love the concept of the film, dreams, because dreams for me is like space or the bottom of the ocean. It's a mystery. Just think about it, you go to sleep and your brain reads you a bedtime story, essentially, which it can be a horror one or it could be a nice one. But it's taking all the information you've gathered over a space of the day or over the week or any problems in your head, and it creates a story for you to watch while you're sleeping. And I love all that stuff. Like if I have a dream and it's got a killer whale in there, for example, I'll go on Google and they'll be like, killer whale means you're a loser. So my biggest issue of the film, I'm going to leave until the very end. And if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I'm talking about, so I'm going to leave that till last. But my first issue was, everything after the first act and a half. Because this film from the very beginning, as mentioned, it just pulled me right in. It had me in the movie, it had me. It was pulling me in, I was trying to work out what was going on. And as soon as it got to the dream study part, I was in. It was so interesting to me, what they were doing, hooking them up, where's this film going to go? And as soon as the film sort of deviates from the study part, it kind of nosedives for me a little bit. But in the middle, there was towards the end, everything after they left that research center and beyond, especially when it's Riff Raff and Sarah. Riff Raff? That's Rocky Horror Picture Show. When Riff and Sarah leave the center, the film kind of takes a massive... It goes away from what I found really interesting. It really bugged me because I was so interested in the first part. And there was one part of the film, not a spoiler again, I keep saying not a spoiler because it reminds me not to spoil it for you, but there's a scene where these two guys are having night terrors, but nothing bad's happening, and one of the guys studying him was like, oh my god, and everyone's like, what, and I'm like, what? And it's never explained, and then they leave the center and I'm like, can anyone what happened? What was he looking at? Because it really bugged me because I wanted to know what was going on. I thought, oh my god, is this where the film goes from like 0 to 100? And it went from 0 to 0.5. So I really wish the film kind of explained what happened in that scene. So guys, I've had a little thought. I'm going to have to tell you my last but biggest issue of the film. I'm going to have to spoil because I need to. I need to talk to you guys, for those who have seen it, about what the hell was that about. So come back at this part for my final thought and rating, because I don't want to ruin it for you. I want you to check this film out. I want you to. Ironically, say Maud was hyped. I had really good talking points, but I'm not going back to that. Whereas this has really good talking points, and I want to rewatch it over and over again to figure out what the hell happened. So let's go into my juicy, what's my biggest issue with the film, and that's the last 5 seconds of the film. But if you're here for the spoilers and you haven't seen the film, welcome, I shall ruin it for you. But if you have seen the film, let's have a little recap. So, essentially, the center that Sarah goes to, they're studying your dreams. They can actually see on a machine your dreams. And then Sarah's not comfortable, she's having too many night terrors and nightmares, and she's like, I'm done, I'm out. And she leaves the center, which is my weakest part of the film. Riff goes with her, and then Riff and her have a little few exchanges and they end up having sex. And while they're having sex, Sarah sees these 2 night terrors coming towards her, and then she passes out. Riff takes her to the hospital, where she then disappears. She's then found to be on the cameras sleepwalking. So Riff catches up to her, and he calls that woman, lactician lady I didn't like or wasn't too keen on, and they hook her up, and they can follow her while looking in her dreams. So they can see what she's seeing in her dreams as she's sleepwalking, as well as making sure she doesn't get hurt on her journey. And you end up in this woodland area, and they find this mobile phone that belongs to Sarah. Now earlier in the film, Sarah was robbed while she was in a laundrette, and didn't that lady, wasn't she just weird? Because the lady in the laundrette, she had white eyes, and I thought, have the night terrors like come out the dreams, and that's why she's got white eyes. And yeah, that didn't amount to anything, but I was well suspicious of that old lady. Yeah, so they find the phone, and it's ringing, and when they answer it, Sarah wakes up, she screams, and then she wakes up from her sleepwalk and her dream, and then all of a sudden, as they're making their way out of the forest, out of the woods, the night terrors are outside the dream, and one of them grabs the lab assistant, one of them grabs Riff, and then she comes face to face with one of the night terrors, and then she wakes up, and then she's on top of Riff, like from the scene where they're having sex, and she's got her thumbs inside his eyeballs. He's dead. She's covered in blood. She goes in this room that she was in previous with the screens where you can see people's dreams, and then she sprouts vampire fangs because that was in a dream of Riff's early on in the film. And then there's a message on her phone, and this is my issue, guys. On the phone it says, "You've been in a coma for 20 years. And I wish I was recording my face, because my mouth just went, I couldn't believe what I was reading. And I need the glasses, so I was thinking, oh, have I got to pause this to read? And it got like this, it got like that close in there, and I was like, oh, I can read it now. And I read it and I was like, what? You've been in a coma for 20 years, and if you get this text, I don't know how you'd get the text, but yeah, we're trying to find a way to bring you out. And I was like, what? That came out of nowhere, and that almost, and when you think back to the film and try and think, did I miss anything? Did I miss any clues? And it doesn't make sense, does it? Doesn't make any sense, that ending. And when I think back, and having just, like, I was marinating in this film, like if there was a giant like mixing bowl, it was just me and this film just in there for like hours thinking, what did I just watch? So I've come to the conclusion that from the moment Riff and Sarah have sex, and Sarah sees the two night terrors coming towards her, that's the moment she went into a coma. Because every time she saw them outside of her dream, she went into a seizure. But I am very confident that my theory is what actually happened, because everything before the sex scene is too logical. It meets too many beats, and it's too much of a story that is cohesive. Whereas everything after is very fast paced, kind of like what a dream is. Like you go from one scene to the next, you don't know how you got there. So even when she's in the hospital, she's sleepwalking, you don't see her leave her bed, kind of like a dream. And even electrical equipment, when they put it on her head when she's sleepwalking, that shouldn't really work because she's in a dream. Things that make sense in a dream. And her watch is going crazy, again, like in a dream, because I love anything to do with like psychology. I'm a scientist. So yes, everything after the sex scene is the coma. Welcome back, spoiler-free people. You didn't miss a thing. So overall, I love the acting. Thought the acting was really, really good. Characters could have been fleshed out a bit more though. The imagery, as well as the sound design. I didn't mention the sound design what I liked. Sound design was incredible in this film. With the imagery and the sound combined, it's like peanut butter and jam. Or if you're in America, jelly. And I love the concept because anything to do with dreams and psychology really fascinates me. I'm generally interested in all that kind of stuff. So when they were talking about it in the film, I was like, hey, this is right up my street. And then they went away from it and I was like, goodbye, parts I liked. Unfortunately, the film was never as good as that first 45 minutes to an hour. It pulled me in so much. I was so interested as to what was going on. It really had me in this movie. It really had me gripped. I was really impressed. And the film overall is good. It's just that once it gets to an hour onwards, up until the last 10 minutes, I was like getting a bit fidgety. I was thinking, can this film hurry up? I was like, my foot was like tapping because I was like, can this film get going again? Because kind of losing interest a little bit. My spoiler issue, yeah, that was not deserved in my opinion, and they should have just left it as it was, because I think the film could have been a grade higher than the rating I'm going to give it had it done that. With all of that said, and rating this film was ridiculously hard for me, because for me it's like flirting between a sparkling bronze and a silver win, because it's a good film. The talking points are fantastic for this film. That's also another great thing about it, the conversations we can all have after about what did you think, what did I think, what did they think. That's one of the best parts of the film too. But I'm gonna say it's a silver win, because in my opinion, this is better than Saint Maud. Saint Maud was very similar, but Saint Maud for me, I'm never watching that film again. Just to think about it now, it's like, okay, I know how it ends, I know why, but this film, I'll watch it a couple more times with maybe other people. It just has some big flaws that could have taken it a little bit higher. So guys, that was my review of Come True. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Was it a snooze fest, ironically? Or was it the greatest film you've ever seen? Comment in the comments to let me know, because I genuinely am interested. And if you like this video, drop me those likes, because it always does help. But until next time, stay out of trouble.